How's it going? David Comic Book Investments. So this will be my Moon Knight series review. I just finished it last night. Spoilers. There's going to be lots and lots of spoilers. So if you haven't seen it or you're only halfway through, whatever, don't watch this video unless you want it to be spoiled. There's my warning. Okay, so what did I think about it? Um, so there's some things I really loved about it. This absolutely I love that psychological thriller type stuff. That's like my jam. So the first episode when you're so confused and you have no idea what's going on, what reality is, who's really who, all this kind of stuff, and you're confused, loved it. I thought that was like probably the best single episode out of any MCU TV show. Hands down. The best. I loved it. But then episode 2 comes and this all falls apart. I even talked to like random people and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I saw the first episode, so good, so good, so good." And then I talked to them after episode 2 and they're like, because the whole, you don't know what's going on. You don't know what's really happening. What's reality? Is he crazy? Is he seeing these things? He has multiple personalities. All that stuff they should have stayed on that path for like the first half of the show for 3 episodes. Just like you're confused and make it this, because at any point you can go back to the normal thing. But once you take that turn and by episode 2, you kind of figure everything out, you're like, oh, okay. And then it's just like standard movie, TV show, whatever. So it's just like, I didn't really like that. But then, so episode 2 is probably the worst episode because it just changed my whole thought of what I thought the TV show was going to be. I thought it could have been this really cool psychological thriller where the whole time I love that, where you don't know what's going on. You're so confused. And then, you have the big twist at the end and you get to figure it all out. But yeah, so episode 2 was like, episode 3 was like, whatever. But then by episode 4, it picked up again because then they brought that element back, which I think was the best element of it. So he's in a psych ward and you're like, oh, this is actually all in his head. Like this whole thing going off, on these adventures. He's really just a crazy person. And so I thought that was great. They brought that back. And so you kind of dive into that. And then if this felt like, so you're on episode 4, it's great. Episode 5 touches on a little bit, but gives you a little more. But then this feels like they really just have to speed things up. Like, okay, well, we have to end this in 6. Why? I don't know. They could have easily ended at 7 or 8, right? And stretched these things out a little better. But they didn't. So they're like, well, we have to wrap things up really quick. So it's like, they had the end fight scene, which was like meh, because literally they're battling and then all of a sudden he goes unconscious and then you're like, what happened? I don't know. And everyone's dead pretty much. So it's just that kind of thing. They just like rush through it. One thing that bugged me, this is a nitpick, is it's so stupid though. It just literally made me. It's when Layla was in, was it Alexander the Great's tomb, and Harrow is like just killed Mark Spector and like grabs his little thing that he needs, his little statue, and then a bad guy with a gun is like walking by, and Layla like grabs him and I don't know, chokes him out or something like that, and makes a little noise, and then. And Harrow looks over and goes, huh? What? Oh, okay, moves on. I'm like, what? And then she just hides it the rest of the time. I'm like, what is the point of that? Like, that was just kind of stupid. Because now I have to believe that this little girl is going to grab this mercenary with a gun and knock him out somehow. You could have skipped that whole scene. That it was like 10 seconds long. They could have just cut that. It added nothing to the story. And it just made me like, what? No. Like, there's no purpose of it. That was so stupid. I guess they wanted to give her something to do while she was hiding. Just have her hide. Like it didn't. I don't know. It's just so dumb. But anyways, I love the part where Oscar Isaac was speaking to himself with Steven and that multiple personality thing, and I love that back and forth. That worked for me really well. Moon Knight was barely in it at all, like barely. For a Moon Knight show, he probably had like 5 minutes of screen time as Moon Knight in like 3 hours of show. It was like so small, so small. So I didn't really like that. I wish he did more Moon Knight type stuff. And I mean, he was pretty much dead for half the show. He got shot. I thought that was cool. We went to the underworld, all that kind of stuff. He went. I liked how he made up. I liked the story of how they made up Steven, how when his personality split. I loved his brother died and his mom blamed him. Like all that stuff worked. Anything with like Oscar Isaac and that storylines like worked for me. And then Moon Knight was great, but he was just barely in it at all. I liked Khonshu. Layla was just okay. Um, the underworld was pretty cool. What's his name? Ethan Hawke. Like, I liked him, but then at the end, like, I don't know, he's just kind of like a weak end villain, and you don't even get to see what happens. It's like it's just off screen, and then the whole time I'm thinking, okay, you're stepping on glass for whatever reason, and the whole time I'm thinking like, okay, it's like your penalty or whatever. Wouldn't that get infected and then you just die? Like, that's what I don't understand. Like, you would have died. Like, it was a cool scene, but he's constantly stepping on glass. His feet would be so cut up, and even if he's like, oh, I'm a monk and I can't feel pain or whatever like that, it would get infected and he would die. Like, I don't know. That just kind of bugged me. Like that whole thing. But I think honestly, the thing that really bugged me is they should have stayed with the psychological thriller, because Moon Knight was barely in it. So you're not really going for a superhero film. You're not really going for, like big battles and stuff like that, because that barely happened. You should have stuck with, you're in the mind of, uh, you know, Oscar Isaac or Stephen Grant or whoever, and they should have stuck with that psychological thriller, because we've seen superhero stuff. If you want superhero stuff, look at any MCU stuff. They should have like kind of a suspense horror psychological thing. You don't know what's going on. What's a movie that comes to mind off the top of my head? The Game, one of my favorite movies of all time with Michael Douglas. The whole time, it's an amazing movie. If you haven't seen The Game, watch The Game. But it's one of those movies, you have no idea what's going on. You don't know it's real. You don't know it's fake. And the whole time you're going back and forth with Michael Douglas, because you're in the shoes of him, basically, trying to figure out what's real and what's not and what's happening to Michael Douglas. That's what they should have done, literally the entire thing. And the last 2 episodes just make it like CGI, Moon Knight, battling, all that kind of stuff. They should have kept that going, just that whole crazy thing. I liked how they came back to it at the psych ward. That was great. That was like, so episode 1 and episode 4 were like the best episodes, in my opinion. Episode 2 was the weakest. Episode 6, you get to see the big battle with the gods. That was kind of cool, but it's kind of lackluster because it didn't feel like there's much stakes to the thing, because I don't know. I don't know. And so, yeah, other than that, those are like my complaints. I liked it. I was entertained through the whole thing. I never really got bored. The way I judge things is if, like I've said this before, if I fall asleep. So if it's at night, that's the only time I watch TV, is like literally I'm in bed before I go to sleep. So usually if it's entertaining, I'll stay awake and watch it. I watched 2 episodes back to back. I stayed up until 11 o'clock, you guys. That's late for me. Normally I'm asleep by like 10, maybe 10:30, but 11, oh man, I'm tired today. I don't know if you can tell because I was up too late. And, but yeah, so I didn't fall asleep, so that's good. I never got bored. I never like checked my phone really. A couple parts, maybe I checked my phone a little bit, but, so that's good. That means I was definitely into what was going on. But yeah, I generally liked it. I thought it was, I'm trying to think of all the MCU TV shows. I don't think I'm missing one, but it's the best, in my opinion. Even with all of its faults, it's still the best. I felt like the story was a good story overall. I felt like the payoffs were good when they needed to be. Moon Knight could have been in it more, yes. The end fight scene could have been better. But I thought it was like Falcon and Winter Soldier, definitely better than that one. WandaVision, better than that one. What was the other one? I don't know. I can't remember them all. But, Hawkeye. Better than Hawkeye. The thing that Hawkeye had going for it was the comedy that was throughout the whole thing. Beyond the story, it's like I literally forgot it. I don't like the comedy worked for me in that one, but this they needed more Oscar Isaac, and they needed it to be more of a psychological thriller because once that is done, you can't go back to it. So you're not going to be able to like. That brings me to the next point. Season two, you're not going to if season two comes out, you're not going to be able to go back to that psychological thriller thing again because it's like people already know, and it's over and done with. Like that should have been the main theme of the whole season was the psychological thriller. At the very very end, you think Khonshu's done, but there's another personality inside Mark Spector, which is cool. So Khonshu is still part, which is I like that because I like Khonshu. But anyways, so season two, Disney said they're not making another one. It's one and done. Oscar Isaac said the same thing. He's like, I don't want to, have the golden handcuffs, which means that you're get paid a lot, but you're stuck to it. But knowing Disney, they don't sign anyone to one deal. That will not happen. Disney does not need Oscar Isaac. Oscar Isaac needs Disney. Disney literally could pick any actor and make them a superstar. So they don't need Oscar Isaac. I'm not saying Oscar Isaac is a bad actor. And Oscar, usually the way production companies work, like Disney, if you do something for them, they'll do something for you. So he's already been with Disney doing, Star Wars and other stuff like that. So if he had, a lot of times these actors have like personal projects they want to do. It's like, okay, I'll do your movies, but you have to fund my money or fund my movie, or you have to be the production for a script I'm writing or something like that, whatever it is. So, and usually they're contracted to a studio. So I know like Chris Pratt said he was contracted to, I can't remember what studio it was, not Disney, but another studio where he had to do X amount of films in X amount of years. So not just one character. So yeah, there's no way Disney just signed Oscar Isaac for one appearance of Moon Knight. Maybe it's only one TV show, but that means he'll have to appear in the MCU. Maybe they'll do a movie about him. I don't know. One thing that I do not like about streaming services is their whole goal is it's not like a movie. I make a movie and I sell tickets, or it's not like a TV show where I have ad revenues. Their whole goal is to get subscribers. That's their only goal. Their shows or movies are measured by how many subscribers they bring in. So you could have a TV show that's garbage, but brings in a ton of all brand new subscribers. That's a success. As opposed to you can have an amazing, let's say Moon Knight comes out and generally people love it, but it brings in 0 new subscribers. They're not making a season 2. And then on top of that, let's say it does very well, like it meets their expectations or above their expectations. Well, they have no incentive to make a season 2 because the odds of you getting new subscribers for season 2 versus season 1, like imagine seeing a TV commercial and you're like, oh, Moon Knight season 2 is coming out, and you've never even signed up for Disney Plus before. And then all of a sudden you're like, you know what? Now I'm going to sign up for Disney Plus because I really want to see season 2. Never watched season 1, but I'm going to watch season 2. So there's no incentive to make a season 2 of anything on streaming unless you're just trying to keep your current customers happy, which is not, you want to get as many new customers as possible. So you're less likely to spend probably $200 million is what this costs to make a season 2. That's why all of these are like one and done. They're just trying to get new people. And like, yeah, you want to keep your old people, your current customers happy, but it's a lot easier to keep someone once they already do the automatic billing than to get someone to sign up to begin with, especially since it's not like a ton of money. So that's the problem with these streaming services. They'll always be making these one and dones because there's really no incentive to continue it on unless it's like their flagship thing, like Stranger Things and Netflix. Like that's the reason why people have Netflix, is to wait for that. So I could see them not making a season 2, which is stupid because I like the show and they could have, and they need more Moon Knight in there, but that means they would have to spend another $200, $300 million making this TV show. And do you think they're going to get a ton new subscribers from it? Yeah, they'll probably keep some old ones that are thinking about deleting, like, oh, I'll stay for the next Moon Knight. But they're probably not going to keep or get a bunch of new people for season 2 versus a season 1. So that's the thing that sucks about streaming services. But overall, let's see. If I had to give it a grading scale, I don't know, 7 or 8. Pretty good. I liked it. I enjoyed it. Kept my interest. There's some things I didn't like about it. Most of them have to be nitpicks with they should have stayed on a path that I wanted and not gone the path that they did. But that first episode was fantastic. The 4th episode was great too. I love that psychological stuff. They should have kept it going because now they can't. And I think that was a massive missed opportunity by them. So yeah, like a 7 or 8. Moon Knight was barely in it as well. And fight scene wasn't as good. But everything worked. It was engaging. It was fun. Let me know what you think.